Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the first special council meeting on the budget. And I'd like to ask everybody in the audience that can to stand as we start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Gentlemen, first item of business is to introduce ordinance 0318 and resolution. Do I have two motions to introduce this to get us started?
Have a motion to introduce?
Yeah.
I'll make them. You want?
Well, what I need is,
go ahead.
I just need a motion to introduce ordinance 0318.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the introduction of ordinance 0318 and resolution
Let's do
R.
them, we got to do them separately.
Okay.
Is there a second on 0318? Second from Mr. Wolfley. Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Number two.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the resolution of R2318. And the staff will discuss this. This is for the fiscal year 2019 Ordinance and Capital Improvement Program for fiscal years 2019 to 2024.
Second by Mr. Gardner. Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. City Manager, you're on. Oh, wait, you have any general comments you want to make before we go to work session?
No, sir. I recommend we adjourn and then
Okay.
get started, and I'll start with the
All right, do you have anybody signed up to speak?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir.
I declare the public hearing to be completed. Now, budget work session, sorry.
We have to move to adjourn.
We do.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, you want to move us, adjourn this and move us into work session?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I like to second that
Move.
motion. To adjourn.
Moved and second. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. All right, now we are in budget work session number one.
Oh, going home.
No, you cannot go home.
All right, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor,
City
we're ready.
Manager.
Right. I'd like to start with the general funds revenue review. And I refer you to page 33 in your proposed budget document there, and we'll start from that. I'll start with the real and personal property taxes. The total for FY19 proposed is $32,884,500. That includes the real property tax of proposed $30,157,000. There is a Maryland Science and Tech Center stormwater for the Melford area, which is $132,000. Bowie Town Center, $30,900. Hybrid stormwater, $2,400. Gateway stormwater, $24,400. We have the Pin Oak stormwater, $6,000. Elder Oaks is $4,600. Collington Plaza stormwater, $7,500. There's a personal property incorporated for businesses, which is $28,300. There are personal property incorporated businesses, which is $1,846,900, and the property for railroads and public utilities, which is $584,400, and interest and penalties on delinquent taxes is projected at $60,000, with a total at $32,884,500. Moving further down that page, I'd like to make your attention to the assessed valuation for the city of Bowie, which is $7,013,279,000. The proposed tax rate for FY19 is 0.43, 43 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is an increase of 3 cents from last year. So with a total tax yield of $30,157,100. I'd like to move to page 35 and get into some revenue detail. the bottom line here for personal property is $2,459,600, which includes personal property unincorporated, personal property incorporated, railroad and public utilities. It includes an increase in the tax rate for business properties from $1 to $1.075 per $100 of assessed value. The tax yield for personal property unincorporated, $28,300. Personal property incorporated, $1,846,900. And railroad and public utilities, $584,400, for a total of $2,459,600. Business taxes, in particular hotel motel tax, we project $379,900. For licenses and permits, we project a total of $428,800, including building permits, street storm drain permits, trader peddler permits, variance reviews, protective inspections, and licensing fees, including which total of that number. I'd like to direct you to page 36.
Go.
Quick question, Mr. City Manager. I know we have a long-standing flat rate on the proposed tax, on real property taxes. What has it been on personal property? Has it been steady for how many years?
8 years.
8 years. So it's followed in step with the
Yes.
with the regular. Thank you.
All right, so continuing with the revenue detail, federal grants, $230,300 for community development, and currently no other grants in that category. State grants, $2,000 in state grants, $95,100 in youth services, and for a total of $97,100. State shared revenue, listed on page 37, includes income taxes, $10,230,800, admissions and amusement tax of $400,300, motor vehicle and fuels tax of $1,839,800, police protection of $571,100, and financial corporation taxes of $800, for a total of $13,042,800. And there were no windfalls this year as we might have had last year and years before. Grants from other local units, a county grant of $110,000, rebates from landfills, Prince George's County, $149,800, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning, Allen Pond costs, $101,700, for a total of $361,500 in other grants from other units. I'd like to go to page 38 at this time.
Pardon me, quick question again. Remind me on the Allen Pond MNC PPC. What is that for?
It's just a reimbursement of
County
costs.
contribution.
Yeah, I just don't remember what the background on that was.
It's a county contribution to help us with the operation of Allen Pond Park.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember what the trade-off was.
The trade-off is that we're providing a park that's being used by more than just Bowie residents. So parking planning has a subsidized part of that, and this has been
But
a
there's
standard
nothing-
amount for the
There's
last.
nothing, there's no further obligation other than that.
No.
We have to show them how much money that we're actually spending on the park. They view that, and as long as it's within certain range, they reimburse us the $100,000 or so
All right.
annually.
Good. Thank you. Good.
Too many folks.
Well, you probably got too many of them.
Too many of us on it. Is this kind of like similar to tax differential? Is this basically what we're talking about?
I wouldn't call it that specifically, but it is the park and planning trying to recognize the full impact of Allen Pond to the community,
Right,
to the larger community.
right, okay. I was trying to give you a name, Councilman. Councilman, but it's similar to that, but we can't use that name.
All right, then I'll continue. On page 38, which is list in revenue details of charges for service, there's a total of $1,183,800 for various services, and I'll list them: councilperson filing fees, counseling services, police services, park concession fees, athletic fees, gymnasium use fees, senior fitness room fees, abatement fees, ice arena regular admissions, ice arena discount admissions, ice arena ice rentals, ice arena skate rentals, ice arena class fees, concession fees, and other revenues associated with the ice arena and dry floor rentals. So we also get funding from fees and fines, which totals $2,810,400. Some of the fees involve the cable TV franchise fee, which is $2,027,700. It is also $5,000 in animal control funds, $51,000 in municipal infractions, and $726,700 in traffic infractions, for a total of $2,810,400. On the next page, page 39.
Question. Mr. City Manager, if you look at this charges for service, and this is something that we may not want to address tonight, but look at it later on when we get to, fees and services for various services such as the ice ring, basketball fees, and so forth and so on like that. When you look at these fees, over the last 4 years, the variance is not really there. I mean, they're so close. I mean, I don't really see that there's any increase that has happened over the last 4 years in any of these fees. And one of the things that I had mentioned last year, and I just asked us to put a paper clip here as a note. I'd like for us, when we get to this particular part of the budget, to look at the fees that we charge for groups based upon the percentage. I raised that issue last year, and I'm going to raise that issue again this year, because I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by allowing a lower percentage of what the percentage we have. I think of what is it, 60%?
50 or 60%.
Yeah, that's too low. I mean, that means that all you have to do is have a 50% requirement, and that means you meet the residency requirement, and you get all kinds of discounts for being a resident. That's entirely too low.
We can discuss it when we get it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah, that's why I would say put a thumbtack or something, in that we talk about that when we get to that particular point.
Okay, then. All right, so on page 39, other revenues total to $1,094,700, and those revenues would be interest income, rentals at White Marsh, Bowie Playhouse, Kent Hill Center, Golf Course, Bowie Commons, and rentals of other property, rentals at the Bel Air Mansion, rental for cell tower leases, cultural and special events, claims and reimbursements, the museum shops, miscellaneous revenues, sales of recyclables, donations, Friends of Bel Air, school scholarship funds, senior program, youth services, police department, and police explorers. And once again, that revenue is $1,294,700. On page 40 of the revenue detail, which will be the last, when I'm going to be over in a minute here, the appropriated fund balance. That is the transfer from the fund balance to the current budget, which is $6,730,000 for this particular year. Transfers and other financing resources include the Central Support Services Water and Sewer Fund, which is $506,900. The total general fund revenue summary, therefore, is revenues and other financial resources are going to be $52,648,800. Appropriated fund balance general revenue transfer is $6,730,000. with the transfer from enterprise fund of $506,900 for a total proposed of $59,885,700. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my summary of the revenue.
Any questions to the staff on revenue detail? Okay, you want to jump into CIP?
Yes.
On 193?
One last question.
Well,
Do you know what
Mr. Mayor, with regard to the revenues, this would be a good time to look at the rental fees and user fees for this particular, since they're listed in 41 through 49. Or we can defer this if you like.
Good time if you want to. Did we raise user fees last year? I don't think we did.
Mayor, staff each year analyzes the user fees, and there is a major endeavor to make sure that the city's fees are comparable to the surrounding areas. So there are fees listed, increases for this fiscal year as well as last fiscal year.
Are we going to,
Now, the other thing we have done in the past is if you make if you want to make a change in the rental rates, we have usually deferred that to the end of the year, because by this time of the year, most of the clubs have already set their fees and whatever, and it makes it very difficult to adjust their rates or adjust their fees after that. So if we make any changes, we generally make them effective at the end of the year, so that everybody gets plenty of advance notice.
Mr. Mayor, quick question. Just in terms of when we want to chat about these, to Councilman Trout's earlier comment, I think that there is some additional discussion warranted when it comes to the gym and to the ice arena fees, because they do have a lot of external users, and I'm not sure that I was thinking that we'd be covering that later, not now, but it's.
You know what, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we could defer this to a later date, because what would be helpful too is if staff in the interim can bring us up to date on where we are on the percentage of city residents that make up teams and stuff like that, in order to qualify as a city team. Like I said, I think in the past it's been about, it had to be at least 50 or 60%.
What we could do is,
If you look on
when we get,
43, it says 60%, a minimum of 60%.
Okay.
On the first note, I think we really need to look at that. That 60%, this is just my opinion. I think the 60% figure is too low. I'm not looking at trying to adjust the fees with regard to what's on page 42, the individual user fees. I'm looking at it from a different perspective, because we have not changed that figure, that 60% figure, since I've been on the council.
Right.
Seriously. That's a long time. Yeah, maybe, can we look at this, come back to it, and look at it later?
I think, I'd like to come back to it at a later date.
well,
So
what
if
we could do, Mr. Mayor, is as far as the gymnasium and our recreation facilities, we can, when the community services has their turn, we can have a discussion at that point. But what you have before you is what we proposed. What we want to do, if somebody wants to change them or raise them or change the rules, then let us know, and we're prepared to adjust it at this point.
Yeah, I think, I don't have a problem with that, having that discussion, but what I'd like to do is maybe have some history of where we are before we do it.
Well,
And
we
then-
can
and then,
do
'cause
that.
I'm sure we're gonna want to get some feedback from the principal users as well, see what they have to say about these kinds of things as well. Mr. Marcus?
Mr. City Manager, could we also request you to try to find out what groups are actually using the gymnasium, as far as weekends and stuff and all?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you can schedule, one of our upcoming events, just the rental permit fees from page 41 on, put that on one of our upcoming work sessions.
Well, I think we can talk about it when the community services comes up.
I'm sorry?
When the community services department comes
Okay.
up, we can talk about it then. And she can give her an opportunity to get some history
Yeah, like I said, and I would like to see if we can get some feedback about the 60% number versus maybe a 70% number in terms of participation. Because I think in the past, we rely on the primary users, the two Boys and Girls Clubs, to certify that all of their teams have a minimum percentage of city residents. So I'm just curious myself, I don't know
Well,
when last time we audited any of
Ms.
that.
Hine will be prepared to talk about all that.
Okay,
She'll have all that data. Okay,
all right.
and that's going to be, she's up for schedule on the 23rd. That department is up for review on the 23rd of April.
Okay. All right, then you want to jump over to
Right.
CIP? CIP on page 193.
Well, we'll start, Mr. Mayor. I'm supposed to talk about the fund itself first, the Capital and Projects Fund on page 167. We'll hit that first, and
Oh,
then
okay,
we'll go to the
167.
projects themselves. Right, but we're supposed to talk about this too, right? If you're looking at page 167, this lists the, a summarized breakdown of the funding associated with the capital improvement projects. As you can see, the appropriated fund balance for 19 is $2,335,100. A transfer would be $3,785,100. Internal government revenues would be $700,800, and other revenues would be $25,127,600, which includes the $25 million bond for the ice arena, should we get to that point. And I'd like to move to page 169 here and talk about. And if you look at if you look at the breakdown, you'll see at the bottom of 169, you'll see there is a $25 million GO bond proceeds, which brings that number up to 31. The total number for CIP to $31,978,600. So. That's all. That's all. That it concludes that component. I'd like to now go to 193, and we can begin take a quick look at page 195. But first, I'd like to read a description of the capital improvement program for the people who are watching on television. The capital improvement programs is a 6-year plan which the council adopts in the form of a resolution to authorize improvements or acquisition projects. Projects listed in the capital improvement program are discussed at one of the first budget work sessions in April of each year. If the City Council approves the project in concept for long-range planning, it is retained in the CIP and is authorized. Funding requirements for the current budget year are then included in the operating budget of the general fund, the Capital Projects Fund, and/or the Water and Sewer Fund, and necessary funding is appropriated via the budget ordinance. As if you look at the multi-year budget, project budget funding requirements on page 195, you'll see for budget year 19, the total is $34,631,400. Which includes land acquisition, the senior center, Kent Hill Center, Harmel House, police dispatch system, gymnasium, energy efficiency improvements, street resurfacing, sediment control reserve, stormwater management, street and utility buildings, facility, preventive maintenance, solid waste and administration facility, Chesapeake Bay, Bowie Playhouse, Bel Air Stable Museum, Allen Pond Park, White Marsh Park, Blackstock Park, Hiker-Biker Trails, Bowie Ice Arena, Church Road Park, Bel Air Mansion, Bowie Golf Course, Public Art, Bowie Heritage Trail, Bowie Railroad Museum, repainting the water tower tanks, and water distribution recapitalization. I'd like to refer to the page 197, which breaks down the the projects for this year and talks about and shows you the general fund projects and the capital improvement funds and where the money specifically comes from. You've got the general fund, the capital projects fund, and the water and sewer funds, and it gives you an idea of where the money specifically comes from within our budget. I'd like to start with the land acquisition CIP project. Funding has been identified for the acquisition of open space areas in and around the city. The amount available for the fiscal year 2019 appropriation is provided by prior year transfer from the general fund of $11,700, current year transfer from the general fund $13,500, and state program open space grant of $730,800. And of course, what this program requires us to do is to seek out opportunities to acquire open space property and other properties that may be of benefit to the city and take advantage of those opportunities when they arise. And as mentioned, the total in the fund for 19 is $756,000, of which $730,000 is a state open space grant. If there are no questions, I'd like to move.
Quick question. That grant, is that carried from prior years?
Portion of that funding is from prior years, yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to go to the senior center. In FY 2018, capital projects included funding for the restroom renovations, design for the replacement of the countertops, base, and wall cabinets, and design for significant HVAC system improvements. FY 2019 includes funding for significant HVAC improvements as well as a counter and cabinet replacement. And if you look on page 201, and you'll see that under 19, it lists the HVAC improvements at $1,042,000, cabinet and counter replacement at $70,000 for a total of $1,113,000. If there are no questions regarding that, I'd like to move to page 202, which is the Ken Hill Center. With the opening of the new City Hall on Excalibur Road, the old City Hall buildings in Ken Hill remains open to house the Youth Services Bureau, Comcast, and the cable TV studio. It is also used for community groups to meet in the evenings. It is now the home of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, the Bowie Boys and Girls Club, the Bowie Interfaith Pantry, among other tenants. In FY 2019, various improvements will be made for this facility are completed. Looking to the right on page 203, you'll see that involves the interior construction improvements for the lobby, room 105, room 121, suite 110 and 115. And what they involve is painting, carpet refurbishing, repaneling of the interior, new flooring, also into the old council chamber to make it more usable for group events rather than, since it no longer has this function anymore. And the total cost for this project is $210,600. If there are no questions, I'll move on. There are
Questions on senior center? Or Ken Hill Center?
the Harmel House has no activity for FY 2019. The next active operation would be the police dispatch system. This project is an upgrade of the radio infrastructure in the city communications. The major benefactors of this project will be the Public Works Department. Upgrades will be completed over the 3-year period. An additional enhancement will upgrade the police non-emergency call center and allow it to become a dispatch center, which it has already made that transition, to support police, public works, park rangers, code compliance, and animal control. Interoperability will be achieved through this project and enhance the city's ability to communicate with other governments during times of crisis and provide better service to the residents of Bowie. What it specifically involves, if you look at page 207, is the purchase of 24 radios for the Public Works Department at a cost of $16,800 and a turbo repeater at $88,000. And what the repeater is, to use military term, it is a retrans. It takes a signal and sends it forward and pushes it out to expand the capability of the radios in question. The total cost for this project would be $104,800. Absent any questions, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move.
Questions on please testify? Jim?
The next issue would be the gymnasium. The city gymnasium opened in 2001. It has steadily increased its program scope and number of participants. Over 250,000 patrons are expected to visit the site this year. In FY 2019, the new interior cabinets and countertops at the reception decks will be installed to improve efficiencies and replace units that have outlived their useful life. If you read right to page 209, you'll see that there's a design and build and install services for cabinets and countertops at the reception desk and at the concession stand, and the price for that is estimated at $39,900. If there are no questions, I'll move forward.
Welcome.
There are no activities for the Welcome Center in this budget, nor for the Genealogy Library in this budget. The next active project is the energy efficiency improvements listed on page 214. This project provides for the development and implementation of energy efficiency improvements to the city facilities or lands. A study was completed evaluating the feasibility of installing renewable energy technologies on city-owned facilities, and a priority list of future projects was established. This will be an ongoing project that satisfies Goal 6 of Strategy 1 of the city's energy efficiency and conservation strategy. If you look on page 215, you'll see that the current activity would be at the Bowie Golf Course in 219, and that is an update and improvement or replacement of the an outdated HVAC system for a more energy efficient system. And
Questions on energy efficiency?
Yep.
Bill?
Are we going to speak at some point later about what's in that plan for energy efficiency later in the process?
you can speak about it. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the opportunity is now to.
All right. Do we have any plans for reviewing street light replacements for LED?
Well, if you look at page 215, that lays out what our priorities are right there. So the answer is there is no plan specifically as a CIP project to do it. Ironically, though, there was a person, we were visited by some professionals today who were making the case for LED lighting and how we could acquire the lights for our 6,000 lights that we have and improve the longevity of them and save money, propose to save money as far as energy is concerned.
Do we know if we actually have, the last time I looked at this, there actually was not a different rate from the power company for LED lights?
There is not. They proposed we discussed that today. If we buy these new LED lights and they in fact use 50% less energy, there's a flat rate with a tariff, that I think that's the term that we use,
Yep.
that we're still going to pay a certain amount of money with PG&E. So that is an impediment from a financial reason for becoming involved in that. Other than the fact that we want to save the planet for my grandson and yours too, I guess. But financially, we're trying to figure out if it would make a difference for us. Yeah, John.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There is, just to clarify, there is a different rate for an LED in the BGE tariff. It's just that rate is not a significant enough drop in cost that would show a cost benefit at this point in time. So, you know, although the LED light may only burn 50 kilowatts, 50 watts, the BGE tariff is up 75 watts. So you don't really get the full benefit of your energy savings. And the cost analysis so far that we've done, doesn't show a payback. We continue to look at it, but so far we've struck out.
Is there, has there been any lobbying effort that anybody's aware of from, MLL or anybody like that to try and put a little pressure on, Public Utilities Commission to get BG&E to change their tariff?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next project to discuss would be street resurfacing on page 216. This is an ongoing program provided throughout the city. The city currently maintains street networks of 192 miles. This program provides for expenditures related to paving and other improvements related to this project. All streets are resurfaced with a hot mix asphalt. Main drives are generally resurfaced with 1 1/2 inch layer of mixed asphalt. Main drives carrying heavier volume may be resurfaced at a 2-inch level. And if you look to page 217, you'll see that our priorities for this year include resurfacing the streets in general at $1,637,700. And there is a plan in Public Works to which streets we're going to be are reaching the stage of being resurfaced. There is a Northridge paver replacement project, Quill Point Drive, Fletcherstown Road, and Fletcherstown Road and Quarter Horse at $137,800. And I had nothing to do with that, by the way. The traffic calming, Beaverdale, Bel Air, Pennsboro at $132,300 for a total of $1,907,800. Any questions on that particular page?
Yes, a couple questions, if I may. Could someone send me a copy of the plan for the streets so far as we know them in terms of their priorities? I often get questions from people, when is my street going to get repaved? Is it in the list?
I can send that to you
Perfect.
once it's finalized. It's right now, it's still a draft, and until we've got a budget, we don't finalize it.
That's perfectly fine.
Yes, sir.
That's good, thank you. And then the next question I have is on these paver replacements. How long do these things last? And
25 years, right? 20 to 25 years.
For the pavers? I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's, the ones that are there now have been there, they're the original paver sections when Northridge was built. Certainly we hope to get a longer life out of the current project that we're doing. We're using a more structurally sound section, if you will, with a concrete
substrate?
base.
Yeah.
And there's an additional treatment that wasn't available then, I believe, so currently. So I had it done in my driveway and with my sidewalk. The neighborhood that I live in was constructed in '92 and they were replaced last year. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any
other questions?
Street?
All right, then. The next several pages are regarding sediment control as we maintain our stormwater systems. And I'll talk about sediment control in Maryland Science and Technology Center, which is better known as MELFORT. The Maryland Science and Technology Center Stormwater Management District consists of 2 wet ponds It is anticipated that the upper wet pond, Pond A, looking on the map there, will need to be cleaned of sediment in 2100, FY 2100, estimated at $9,547,120. The lower wet pond B will need to be cleaned in 2064 for $13,548,000. And what occurs here over in 219, and this is where we accumulate funding to conduct those projects when the time comes. The next page is another sediment control project associated with Bowie Town Center, the Centennial Park. It is anticipated that the stormwater management pond will need to be cleaned of sediment in 2115. Reserves have been set aside in anticipation of dredging and other major maintenance costs for this particular project. And the amount of money set aside here is $44,000. The hydrology survey that was performed in 2008 to better analyze life expectancy calculations. In 2010, the study was performed to recalculate the distribution of taxes, and funding for the project is provided by special taxing district and general revenues, 57 and 43% respectively. So there's a $44,000 set aside for that. There's another sediment control project related to High Bridge. It is anticipated that the wet basin will need to be cleansed of sediment in 2024 at an estimated cost of $46,100. It's my understanding that there was no addition to 2019, but the balance, we have the funding for the initial cleaning in the balance already. Sediment Control Gateway Center, formerly called International Renaissance Center. Stormwater Management District consists of drainage channels and a wet pond. The pond was dredged in 2010 at a cost of $206,000 and expected to be dredged again in 2026 at an estimate cost of $249,900. And we are accumulating funding in that balance for 2019 for $23,300. The next sediment control is in Covington. Stormwater management pond in Covington area of the city serves 3 special taxing districts along with the surrounding residential areas. It's anticipated that the pond will need to be cleaned of sediment during 2102, $4,796,700. So reserves are being set aside to conduct that particular operation at the tune of $23,600 in this particular year. In the area of stormwater management of city assets, the Public Stormwater Management Capital Improvement Program provides funding for corrective actions needed to maintain city stormwater infrastructure. This infrastructure includes storm sewers, storm drained inlets, stormwater outfalls, public storm water ponds, and other control facilities, streams, and channels. In 2019, there will be a neighborhood drainage solutions of $33,000, a consultant dredging report, 2 per year of $18,500, debris removal, bank erosion repairs, and millstream of $75,000, the regrade of the Bowie Forest Stormwater Management Pond for $54,000, at a total of $181,100 in 2019.
Quick question. There's no special taxing district for this, correct?
No. All right, Public Works main facility, there's no actions for this in 2019. No activity for the street and utilities building in 2019. The facilities preventive maintenance fund project is the city has significant capital investments in public facilities and structures. This project allows the city to pursue refurbishment and preservation of public facilities without the need to incur additional debt. A facility assessment was performed to determine the status of city facilities The assessment was used to establish maintenance and replacement schedules for inevitable aging and obsolescent public facilities. Funds will be set aside annually for the maintenance items. Examples of maintenance items include roof replacement, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning replacement, electrical improvements, and other rehabilitations of the city projects, and general and unscheduled Murphy's-type maintenance. And the amount of money that's set aside, which seems to be operationally accurate so far, is $550,500. Solid Waste Administration Facility, there's no activities this particular year. The Chesapeake Bay project. On December 29, 2010, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency established the Chesapeake Bay Total Maximum Daily Load, TMDL. The TMDL is a comprehensive pollution diet to restore clean water in the Chesapeake Bay and the region's streams, creeks, and rivers. The city has already received an analysis from the Environmental Finance Center, the University of Maryland, and has used the services to provide for a private consultant to make recommendations as to how the city can achieve the requirements to be contained within the permit, which is what we're operating on right now. The proposed capital improvement plan lays out specific projects over the next several years to accomplish this requirement. Many of these projects are located within the Levitt section of the city, and that has developed prior to current stormwater management standards. On page 239, you'll see that we're looking at the construction of a Spangler Lane stormwater management pond for $832,600. The design of the Woodhaven Drive stormwater management pond, referred to as R20, for $172,000. The construction of the stormwater management improvements at Ken Hill, referred to as R26, for $475,000, for a total of $1,479,600. Any questions on that? If not, I'll
Yes.
move to the
Quick question.
shoot.
What's the timing by which we need to be compliant?
It's, the permit is going to require us to be completed by 2025.
2025. And with this schedule, are we fast tracking or are we slow rolling this?
We are, the schedule has us meeting the requirement with significant challenges. I mean, there's a lot of money in this project.
We're on course to complete the project, assuming we have funding to conduct and pay for the project, is what he's saying.
Yeah. I just didn't know if if any of this was front-loaded, but I see if it's all done by 2025, we don't have a lot of wiggle room here.
What do you mean by front-loaded?
If, for example, it was work that needed to be completed 10 years from now and we were doing all the work in 5 years, in which case I'd be interested in dragging it out a little bit so that we don't take the full budget hit now. But it looks like the full budget hit is really by 2025, and it's pretty evenly spread, although this coming year is a little heavy. But the rest of them, except for 22 and 24.
Well, this is expensive, and we've broken it up, and it's also an issue of project management and workload and all those things involved, because we have other things going on, but this is, we think we'll make it if we have the money.
Okay, thank you.
So, the Bowie Playhouse. Oh, was there another? I'm sorry. Bowie Playhouse, page 240. The Bowie Playhouse received an extensive renovation in FY 2009, which included the construction of a new lobby, bathrooms, ticket office, interior sidings, and a new roof. In 2010, a 15-ton rooftop HVAC system was replaced, In 2019, funds are included for the design of a sanitary sewer connection. And if you look at 241, you'll see that the sanitary sewer connecting engineering is scheduled for $50,000. This is connecting with the White Marsh thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so going on to moving forward, there are no actions in Bel Air for 2019, Bel Air Stable Museum for 2019. No activity in Allen Pond. As you know, we shifted the Allen Pond activity to White Marsh, and we'll discuss that in a moment. Which is next on page 246. The White Marsh Park is a 200-acre park that receives year-round use for both organized and unstructured recreational activities. The park offers diverse recreational opportunities and has 4 athletic fields, 2 picnic facilities, walking and biking trails, and an age-appropriate playground area, and is the home for the Bowie Playhouse. The 2010 White Marsh Master Plan identified necessary park improvements and specified a phased approach to the implementation to ensure the park effectively served the city residents. If you look on page 247, Phase 1 communications construction is in fact $45,000. The contingency Phase 2 construction inspection management, $145,300. And the pedestrian bike is $199,200. But just to back up a moment, if you look at 18, we are already, even though that isn't the primary discussion so far, we are executing Phase 1 of the master plan, and with the construction of a sanitary sewer system which will connect to the Bowie Playhouse for $1,028,400, and the construction of all-age playground, restroom, concessions, and that project is on go for FY 2018. So you'll see what the combined operation will be, adding the other $389,500 for Phase 2. Any questions or comments about this particular project?
No.
Wow on our current expenditures, but quick question on the White Marsh property specific to Sport Fit, which is private. Is that land theirs or is that ours under lease? I don't recall.
It's city land.
It's city land, as far as I know, and I believe the building belongs to the city too, but I'm not sure, but it's certainly city land.
All right. What are the leasing arrangements there? Do we know?
I'd have to check on that, if you're aware of that. We'll have to check on that.
Okay.
You have an answer for that there, Sally?
I'm sorry, they have a long-term lease, but I can't tell you if it's 20 years, we have to go back and look at it. But it's all our it's leased.
So it's our property and our facility as well, so improvements are ours whenever the lease is up.
I believe that's how the contract reads, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll look for that. Thanks.
Okay then. The hiker-biker trail is next on page 248. The city completed an inventory and condition rating of the city's hiker-biker trail system. A listing has been prepared of all trails in need of repair, reconstruction, and those that require construction to complete the missing links in the existing trails network. If you'll look at page 249, you'll see that as far as 2019, we've got $25,000 set aside for critical maintenance and safety improvements for the city's trails, to include the second phase of emergency trail marking installation within the city's maintained system. Any questions for that? The next one, I hate to say the word, but it's the Bowie Ethics Ordinance. We talked about that yesterday, and the staff is moving forward with the direction we received yesterday, and we won't talk about that one. Church Road Park has no activity. The same for the Bel Air Mansion,
I like that.
which takes us to page 256, which is the Bowie Golf Course. Description: in 2018, the capital improvements projects include repair of the irrigation pumps, the pipes, renovation of greens, fairways, and sand bunkers, replacement of the boiler in the clubhouse, and pro shop replacement. There was a, for those, just a history, there was a, the operators had demonstrated they had difficulties maintaining the property, and it was, you know, I was directed that and advised that the council wanted to maintain the system, this Bowie Golf Course. And if you look on page 257, you can see in 18 the list of things that we were able to accomplish for a mere $250,000. They repaired their irrigation pumps and pipes, as well as repaired the irrigation, replaced the boiler in the clubhouse, pro shop for $11,976, replaced windows and frames in the clubhouse for $9,600, plumbing repairs in the men's and ladies' room for $2,800. The greens, fairways, and sand bunkers were renovated for $103,000. For 2019, we intend to replace the HVAC system in the club pro shop that I mentioned in the energy improvements earlier in the discussion, and replace the roof on the clubhouse for $55,000. Repair to number 15 stormwater management pond, asphalt trail and guardrail installations for $100,000, and regrass the fairways for $55,000. Any questions regarding this particular project? If not, we'll move to public art on page 258. Support for public art is an ongoing effort in the city of Bowie through its Arts Committee and that administers the public art program. The city adopted the public art master plan in January 2013. If you look to page 259, you'll see that we have set apart $25,000 for outdoor art off of the Bowie Heritage Trail at the Railroad Museum. And I think we had the artist here a little while back giving a briefing, so you're aware of what we're planning to do. If there are no questions, I'll move on to Blackstock Park. Blackstock Park is a 64-acre park primarily designed for baseball and softball. The park is divided into two sections, with ball fields in one section off of Mitchellville Road, and the playground in another section off of Mount Oak Road. The park offers restrooms as well as concession facilities available for rental. A paved walking trail connects the playgrounds with the athletic fields and the city system of hiker-biker trails. 5 ball fields are utilized daily for 8 months out of a year. And there's a picture of the facility for you, and if you look to page 261, you'll see that we are going to install an outfielder's fence extensions on fields 3 and 4 for $52,000 in 2019. The next discussion would be the Bowie Heritage Trail on page 262. The 2005 Bowie and Vicinity Master Plan recommended an off-road pedestrian trail connection between Old Town Bowie and the MARC train station at Bowie State University. The city's Walkable Communities Program endorsed by the City Council in 2006 recommended pedestrian improvements throughout the Old Town Bowie. In November of 2008, the City Council passed Resolution R78-8 approving series of recommendations for Old Town Bowie's trail systems, updating the 2003 Trails Master Plan. The Bowie Heritage concept was finalized through a series of community meetings held in 2009. The highest priority for the segment of the Bowie Heritage Trail is a segment between 12th Street and 10th Street using the unimproved Railroad Avenue right-of-way. The construction of the Railroad Museum improvements and 10th Street Park construction of Jericho Park segment F1, which is 2,188 linear feet with 10-foot wide trail in the southwest area of Jericho Park, is priced at $1,449,000. The next project is the Bowie Railroad Museum.
Quick question on that. Do you have a plan that I could look at that more clearly outlines what that effort will be for next year?
We can,
Thank you.
we have that, yes, we'll get it to everybody out there.
Thank you.
So, the Bowie Railroad Museum. Bowie Railroad Museum opened in 1894 and has been, after being moved and restored. In FY19, funding will provide for the installation of an HVAC system and LED interior lighting for the caboose. Construction of the Railroad Museum's improvements are shown on the Heritage Trail page, since the project will be jointly bid with the construction of the 10th Street Park, also shown on the Bowie Heritage Trail page. As you can see, we have $25,000 set aside for the HVAC and lighting of the installation of the lighting installation on the caboose. On page 266 is the water plant project. The project provides for the improvements and recapitalization and major repairs of the city's water production, storage, and distribution infrastructure, including the water filtration plant, water wells, storage tanks, distribution, piping, and valves. There's one addendum to the, if you look at page 267, there are 3 projects that were pushed out in the out years that I propose to be moved back into 19. That is one, the telemetry communications, and we have a more accurate price of $197,000 for that particular project. The second would be the Heather Mills water interconnection with WSSC, a requirement, and this project has already been awarded, but there will be an overlapping between 18 and 19 implementation of the project, so it would require us to identify funding in 19, understanding that this is a part of the water sewer system and it has to pay for itself, so that funding would come from that. The third thing would be the Overbrook in the out years is contingent on the bid. What I mean by that is the Overbrook water main replacement of $228,000. We'll be bidding that project out in 18, but however, if the project comes in exceptionally high, and we would have to go back to the drawing board and take another look at that. So it could be implemented in 19. Most likely, if we can do it in 19, we can use the maintenance management issue requirement to replace it, but I'm just stating that up front so everything's open and above board. The other thing we projected we'll need, but we're also waiting on word from SHA, is the utility crossing, which is listed at the bottom of the beyond there. Utilities relocation, there's a $180,000, in the middle, MD 197 utility crossing relocation for $180,000. We project that may occur this year, but we are totally dependent on the State Highway Administration on that particular issue. Any questions?
Yes, I'm sorry, the money is going to SHA for them to do the work on our behalf, is that right?
Yes. We have an option to hire them or to bid it out ourselves. The most prudent course of action is to hire them to do it. Did I get that right? Any other questions? All right. We're going to go to, we have no activity regarding the repainting of the water storage tanks, nor the wastewater treatment plant. I'm going to hand over to our Public Works Director, Captain Stefano, so he can talk us through the the recapitalization issue.
I'd like to update you on the status of this overall recapitalization project and some adjustments that need to be made to the page that we presented. Prior to fiscal '28, this project was initiated with assessment and categorizing of the entire water distribution system. Those findings were presented to Council in December of 2016. Council later adopted the fiscal 2018 budget, which included this new capital improvement effort. Our project intent as presented in last year's CIP was to complete our water main assessment and the recapitalization plan, to begin tackling water main replacements with 2 small pilot projects, and finally to carry out 10 annual projects to achieve the goal of replacing 7 miles of the most severely deteriorated pipe in the system. As of today, we have completed the first of the 2 pilot projects and are in the design phase for the second project. The hydraulic model, however, still pens. The meters that were scheduled for fiscal 18 are scheduled to start being installed this May. The first pilot project done was a pipe replacement project for Leanna Place and a long transmission pipe that feeds water from Long Ridge Lane to Leanna Place. That project was done through a method called pipe bursting. Pipe bursting is a process by which you pull a new pipe through the old pipe. As the new pipe is pulled through the old pipe breaks and is left underground in place. This method significantly reduces the street cuts and the required excavations. And in the case of Leanna Place, an old tuberculated 6-inch cast iron main was replaced with a new 8-inch HDPE and PVC pipe. Desired improvements to fire flows were achieved. The second pilot project, which is now in design, began with a hydraulic analysis to determine which pipes to replace to achieve desired improvements to fire flows in the southernmost areas of Heather Hills. That analysis showed a need to replace a larger section of piping than we had budgeted for in fiscal 19. In addition, based on the success with pipe bursting at Leanna Place, we decided to design another pipe bursting project here in lieu of a pipe lining project originally conceived. Due to our concern for construction costs, the pipe lining project is significantly higher cost. The estimated cost with the results of the hydraulic analysis, the estimated cost of that project are $870,000, far exceeding the $300,000 that we had originally planned. So rather than reduce the scope of that second project to meet the $300,000 budget, we are requesting to defer this work until FY20 so that we can accomplish that entire project in one construction contract. In addition to delaying this fiscal 19 project to fiscal 20, I also intend to propose a modification to the overall schedule that we've previously presented to take advantage of economies of scale. The schedule as currently shown includes 1 project per year over 10 years. We are finding that by combining projects to a larger scale, we may gain economies in both consulting engineering services and in construction contract services to reduce costs. I intend to revise the schedule to reflect this concept, but still with a schedule to meet the intended goal over a 10-year period. The fiscal 19 request, therefore, will be limited to the $275,000 shown for the meter replacements, the $100,000 that we still need to carry out the hydraulic modeling, and $70,000 towards planning and design of the future pipe replacements.
Any questions from what Mr. Stefanos just said regarding the project? We'll be working on that plan to change the plan for conducting the project so that we can take advantage and do 2 or 3 projects all at once, what was listed. Construction costs are a big concern right now, and they seem to be rising as the economy does well. Contractors get the demand becomes high for them. That's the last one of those projects, Mr. Mayor.
I have a question. On the pipe bursting, methodology, what kind of savings did you see with that as compared to the other approach? I think you said it was a lining approach?
So we have not done a lining approach
Okay.
yet. This is based on our research of lining projects that, we have been, our research shows that those projects are more expensive than the pipe bursting projects.
Gotcha. All right. And so what type of savings do you think you'll get in terms of cost for combining these and bundling them together?
So I can't put a number on that for you, sir. But in addition to cost savings, I think from an execution standpoint, it's just a little easier to, once you've contracted design services for a mile of pipe, the additional effort to design a second mile of pipe is not 2 times. So there's definitely savings to be seen on the engineering side of the project. On the construction side of the project, I'm not able to answer your question yet, but I'm hopeful that we will attract more bidders. We're competing against much larger systems that surround us, both in Prince George and Montgomery County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City. So I think if we have larger projects, we may see better bids.
Excellent. This is something that obviously in my district we get a lot of complaints about. So the sooner the better in terms of making this happen. So in deferring this, let's see, was it 300,000? You said it came to a total of 900,000. Is that right?
Roughly, yes.
Right.
Just under.
Is there any reason other than planning that you would be deferring it?
No, sir. Yes, there is a reason. The reason is, as I mentioned, when we started the project, the design of the project, we first carried out a hydraulic assessment, not of the whole system, just of the system in Heather Hills, because we wanted to make sure, it was a pilot project,
Sure.
and so we wanted to make sure we were making best use of that $300,000. And so the consultant provided for us a very good analysis. And when they do a hydraulic analysis, they will run scenarios. If you replace this piece of pipe, this is what will happen. If you enlarge this pipe, this is what will happen. And what their findings were that, most of the scenarios they painted did not achieve the results that we were looking for, which at the very southern part of Heather Hills, we don't have the fire flows that are desired. And so the result of their study showed really that we needed to replace a piece of pipe that kind of runs from where the crossing from US 50 comes down to Holiday Lane,
sure.
and wrapping around Holiday Lane almost all the way to Old Collington Road. That because to achieve the results, we really needed to do that whole thing. I didn't see the benefit of just doing a piece of it because we're not going to achieve the results based on the hydraulic study. And I would prefer to defer it to 2020 when we can seek the additional funds to do the whole project at once.
Okay. All right. The funds for this, though, we have in the existing fund, right? We don't have to go for a bond on this, right?
Actually, the overall program, this overall program does include a loan that, I don't remember which year we were seeking the loan, Byron.
Next year.
No, it's 23. 2023, sir.
All right, so if we're deferring it for a year for the money, but we already have the money in-house, or not?
We never said we were deferring it for the money. He was deferring it for the management of the project. The money was an issue. One of the problems that the project came in exceptionally higher than what we thought, correct?
Well, the requirement is for a larger section of pipe.
Right.
than we
So
had
the
originated.
scope is greater,
Correct.
so understandably the cost is greater. But my understanding was we have the money, that we don't have to wait for the bond for this.
That's correct.
So are we what else is it that would, if we have the money, what else is keeping us from moving forward with the expanded full without splitting it into two? I'm not suggesting that we, bifurcate this and piecemeal it. What would keep us from doing a whole project now as opposed to deferring it?
Only, it is funds. You're absolutely right. If we had the funds, I deferred it because there was, I didn't want to bring money forward.
Okay.
So I deferred it to, I'm recommending defer it to to FY20 in order not to have to bring money forward. We'd only planned to do the 300 in FY19. And so because I'm asking now for 900, I assumed the appropriate option was to delay it until 2020.
Okay.
And it's not, the timing between FY19 and FY20 for actual construction is probably not a year. We're still in design on this project, so we're not ready to go to bids. It's not as if we would be, starting to replace pipe in this coming July. It would be much later in the fiscal year. So if we to defer this project for funding in fiscal 20, the time difference between executing it with 19 money and executing it with 20 money is probably a few months.
All right. So what impact does it have on, if we're going to push this back a couple of months, what impact does that have on repairs in other parts? You see my concern. My concern is that if we're not doing work now that we could be doing now, then we'll be in a position that we'll be delaying future repairs for other sections.
That's correct. So, as I described, that, looking at, delaying this project to 20, then we wouldn't do that project that's currently shown here in 21, the $1 million project, until later than that. So it does delay the start of these projects a little bit. And frankly, that, we need to do that just because we're not ready to execute it.
I'm sorry, you're not ready for?
I don't have a $1 million project defined yet.
Okay, gotcha. So is there an opportunity on the finance side to move this forward?
No, sir.
The answer is no. We can't move it forward unless the engineer is ready to execute it.
But that's not what I heard. What I heard he's unable to bring it forward because he doesn't have money, and I'm interested in providing the money since the money is already there, because it's not like we have to go get it.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to say is that I don't see the significant benefit to bringing it forward versus waiting until 2020. Because it's, a matter of months, not a year, that you advance the project.
Okay. And so back to the finance question. So do we have the money?
Councilman, the way that we planned the project was in alignment with Mr. Stefano's plan. We will use part of the fund balance, part of the revenue generated for the project, but financing is definitely laid out to follow Mr. Stefano's plan, and I think we should probably stay with that.
Okay, do we have the money? I'm just trying to get to the bottom. If there's a value in moving this forward, the value is that citizens get it sooner rather than later. If there's a meaningful reason why we should postpone it, that's fine. But I'm hearing that the reason we're postponing it is because we have an arbitrary date for funding because we have the money in our bank account, but we originally planned to spend it the following year. And to me, if I write the check this year or I write the check next year, it doesn't make any difference. I'm still writing the check, but the constituents have to wait a couple of months for a couple months or 6 months or more, I don't know. Maybe it's not. I just don't see the advantage of moving it back if there's no cost to it. I mean, the cost of money for our organization's got to be nothing.
Again, yeah, I'll take you to page 175. And on page 175, we're showing you the effect of the expenditures and revenue on the fund balance. The money is available. It would just bring the fund balance down by another $1 million within the FY 2019 year. The way we originally planned it, we didn't want to draw down tremendously on the fund balance. Our goal was to, in 2023, we would have an increase of $23.44 to the residents. The way we originally planned this out, because it was a 10-year program, there was an increase that residents received last year. Also, a planned $5 million borrowing in 2023. So, again, the funds are there.
Well, so to help me out with the chart here, I'm looking for the legend.
What page are you on?
Page 175.
175, the squares.
So if we look at that chart, we're looking at budget line item, the third line item, FY 2019. As we originally projected, we were only going to use about $316,000 of the fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
If you push that project and use the $1 million, then you're just going to hit that fund balance significantly in that particular year.
And that would increase.
Okay, so that means, so we do have a money issue then?
Yes, sir.
All right, so, because this tells me then that I'd be in a position of only having $500,000 left or thereabouts, maybe it's a little bit more, in unassigned fund balance.
That's good arithmetic.
Is that correct?
Yes.
The other thing I'd like you to take in consideration is that the council has a proposed policy for the fund balance,
Yeah.
which is 25%.
Agreed.
Okay? And with that, the proprietary fund does have an effect on the bond rating of the city. So we want to make sure that the fund balance here is not totally depleted in any particular year.
Yeah, agreed. So this gets back to I guess the answer to the original question is, yes, we have the money, but it would take us pretty low, and if we had another well go bad or something along those lines, we wouldn't have the cash on hand. So we have cash on hand, but it wouldn't be prudent to spend it that soon in the process. Is that right?
Well, I think I'll do the talking from now on. Our proposal is what it is. If for some reason the council wants to change it and move this project forward and give that direction to the city manager, I'll do it. But we have to manage all of our assets, including our fund balances here. We made our proposal, and that's what we think we ought to do.
That's correct, and I'm trying to understand what it was. And the initial comment I heard was, we've got the money, and after questioning, we do have the money, but apparently it takes us pretty low. So I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation once it's been explained to me.
Well, I don't think there was any effort to not explain it accurately to you, sir.
No, that's fine.
I thought we told you that a couple of times, but right now, we're at a position where, you know, if we have to manage our assets. This is an effort to manage our assets and manage the project. So,
Agreed.
But we're prepared to salute the flag and do whatever the council wants.
No, I'm comfortable with it.
well, that's good.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that's all we have today, sir.
I'm sorry. All right, yeah, we're doing it. What is our next budget session? Is it next Monday?
It's Monday the 23rd, sir. Monday, excuse me, Monday the 16th, excuse me, Monday 16th, and,
Okay. Okay, good. All right, Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good night. Good night.